If you're buying a Sony camera or your next lens and want to know if one or the other lens will fit on your camera, there is a way to find that out, so I'm here to teach you which lenses fit which Sony cameras and how to identify them so you don't buy a wrong lens. Toms Jurjeks here and welcome. Let's get started. Okay, so to keep things simple, first you need to understand that most of the people use either Sony's crop or so-called APS-C cameras and the full-frame cameras. If you don't know, just to briefly mention, the full-frame Sony cameras are the A7 and A9 lineup, like A7 III, A7R2, and etc. But for example, the A6000 lineup, A6100, A6300, etc. are all crop or APS-C cameras. And all of these cameras have one united lens mount and is called E-mount. Well, very old models had also this A-mount, but we are not gonna touch upon that in this video. So it's great, and most people think, perfect, I can use whatever lens I want as long as it's E-mount, right? Makes sense? Is wrong. Unfortunately, these E-mount lenses are separated in two categories. FE E-mount lenses, which are made for full-frame Sony cameras, and FE stands for full-frame E-mount, and E lenses, which are made for crop sensor cameras like the Sony A6000. It's a bit confusing, right? But don't worry, there are a couple of ways on how to find out which one is which. First of all, if you have the crop sensor camera, you have nothing to worry about because both the E and FE E-mount lenses will fit on your APS-C camera. What you need to be careful with is if you own a full-frame camera, then only the FE E-mount lenses will fit on your camera. Well, technically also the E-mount lenses fit, but you will see like these black corners on side of the camera, and you'll have to switch in a crop mode to get rid of that. That's why it's kind of considered that it doesn't really fit, but it actually do. So how to identify which is which? Well, there are a couple of ways. Most of the websites clearly point that out, and you can see it in the name of the lens. So for example, this one, as you can see, it has the FE, so that's the one for a full frame camera. This one has only the E in its name, so it's for the crop sensor camera. Unfortunately, some websites or manufacturers don't put this info as clear as others. As you know, there are also third-party manufacturers like Sigma, Tamron, Samyang, and many others that make these lenses for Sony E-mount. If you can't tell by the title, look for the info in description. Many times it is written there. If not, check the comments or questions on sites like Amazon, because people usually ask this, or you might just simply Google is blah 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 lens an APS-C lens, and chances are that you should get the answer there as well. But recently I found out that Amazon actually has implemented this handy confirmed fit tool, where you basically, what you do is you search for the lens that you want, then you select the brand, let's say Sony, and you type in the model. Since this is E-lens, it should not fit on full frame, right? So I'm gonna type it in A7 II, and yeah, that tells me that it doesn't fit as expected. However, if I, for example, put in Sony A6000, it fits. So that's another way of being sure that you buy the right lens. And one more thing to mention, full frame lenses are usually at least 2 or if not 3 times more expensive than the crop sensor lens. So if you see 2 almost identical E-mount lenses, one for $200 and the other one for $800, then most likely the cheaper one is for crop sensor camera, and full frame users will know that these cheap prices are just too good to be true. So if you haven't already purchased your next Sony camera, think carefully which one will it be, the crop or the full frame camera, and think if you will be switching at some point in the future from the crop to the full frame. Why is it important? Because the lenses you are going to buy. If you think of switching soon and you're not going to keep your crop sensor camera, then I would not recommend to buy crop lenses because you will not be able to use them with your full frame camera. So rather already start buying the full frame lenses or so-called FE lenses, so whenever you switch you can use them on your full frame camera. Or if you decide to keep both cameras, you can use the same lens on both cameras as well. If you know you're gonna stick with the crop, then do whatever you want, because as I said, all E-mount lenses fit on the crop, which is amazing. So with all that being said, I want to tell you to just think before buying the cameras and lenses, and try to already kind of think about the future. If you're gonna switch, if you're not gonna switch, like what is the path you are gonna take? Okay, that was very brief, but I hope it was useful because it can quickly get very confusing. And check out this video of my favorite budget combo, the prime lens on a crop sensor Sony, if you haven't seen it already. Let me know in the comments if you have ever been confused with choosing the right lens, and stay tuned because new video is coming very, very soon. See you guys!